This is the Ice Ball 2016 at the Steger Wilderness Center. Actually, this is our year 49. We start cutting ice here for refrigeration in 1967. And the ice is used for refrigeration during the summertime. We cut it on the ice, big festivity. We haul it up with horses, and then we put the ice in the actual ice house. And then that stays, of course, frozen until right around July 1st or so. It starts getting above freezing in there. And then we use that ice throughout the summertime up until October when it gets cold. And we also use root cellars, the root cellar is right next to the ice house in there. We use that during this period for things, so things don't freeze. But the annual harvest is usually around the first week of February. This is one of the coldest times of the year, but the weather, the climate has been so variable. Two years ago, we had over 24 inches of ice. It was a record thickness for us, and this year it was the record thin. We only had about 8 inches maximum for thicker ice. And what was unusual this year is when we cut the ice, the water came up, and when the water flowed up on the ice, the weight of the water pushed the ice down more, and it was from there on, water just poured out. And we had 2 other years where we had water like this, so it's not like totally unusual. We've had a lot of ice cuttings when it was 30, 35 below zero. We wouldn't have the water, but water was unusual, and it's part of the changing climate here, thin ice. And it's El Nino year, of course, here 2016. And yeah, here we have the 4 horses just came up from the lake, and in the sled there are probably about a ton of ice in small blocks, and we have a crew here then that, as you can see here, they unload it, and then they slide it in on planks into the ice house itself, and they place it, real tight, one on top of each other, and then they put sawdust over the top. The sawdust acts as insulation, and we've made about almost a dozen hauls so far. I think we've got about 2 more left, and the ice house should be pretty well filled. The ice house itself is about 6 by 9 by 6 feet tall. It's super insulated. There's 12 feet of earth on top of it. Plus, if you look on the top, the trees, I planted the trees about 20 years ago, and the trees provide ample shade. And the other key part of the ice house too is it faces north, so it's always in the shade here. If it faces south, the earth absorbs a lot of energy, and the earth warms up. So the key here is you want to keep the earth really cold and cool. That's the advantage of the northern area here. We're not in a permafrost area here, but the ice stays in the ground for a very long time, especially with the shade with the trees, and then the humus underneath the trees from the pine needles, and that also insulates it. So it's early days I had a very simple dugout ice house on the lake itself, so we would just cut the ice blocks, move it directly into the ice house, and a little more sophisticated here. It's closer to where we actually use the ice, so very, very convenient. When I first started in 1967, we just, a couple friends of mine, 2 or 3, 4 of us would cut. And over the years, the numbers grew, and for many years, for a couple of decades, we had just maybe about 12 people that we all had specific jobs. But about 20 years ago, it turned into a regular, the Ice Ball Festival, where we have lots of people that come from around, and it's a good social event, great part of our community here at the center. Strong part of our community here is the programs that we run, and part of those programs is we do a lot of voluntary work here around things like events like stacking ice. I moved here to be self-sufficient and to raise my own food, to live a simple life, and ice and root cellars and gardens were part of that. But now today, 25 years later, we've had the road here for 25 years. With the climate crisis, it's very important that we look at alternative ways. It's not like everybody's going to do cut ice in the city, but conservation of that energy, refrigeration, any type of burning of fossil fuels, conservation is a big part of it. In addition to clean energy. I think our horses are going to take off here. Okay, oh, thanks.
One more load.
One more load, okay. Almost like a ice hockey game out there. We were moving the blocks around with shovels, and we normally would pull it with ice tongs, but The ice was really floating. You know, there was about a foot of ice. Everyone was in winter gear. In other words, they were soaking wet out there. Most people were out there all afternoon wet and working on it. And but it just added to the day and the fun and the challenge of doing it. Everybody kept their spirits high. And we've lit the sauna, which is another part. Everybody's saunas in the night. Evening here. Pretty soon, with dinner's being prepared, we'll have a great dinner inside. There'll be a lot of music. A couple musicians are up. We'll have a fire outside, a bonfire later. It kind of goes on until about 3 in the morning. So part of the celebration. Now everybody now is getting on their dry boots and the dry towels and are getting ready for the sauna.